Welcome to the Market Me podcast with your host, Mike Mall. Each episode of Market Me deconstructs real campaigns for actual businesses to improve their marketing efforts. Mike is the founder of Social Media House and a digital marketing consultant who teaches marketing strategy to executives and their teams from small business to Fortune 500 companies. Let's get started.
On this episode, we're speaking with Hailey Rowe, who is a consultant who has a personal brand, and she also is the host of the Health Coach Nation podcast. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at some of your online presence, it's really interesting space that you're in. I think there's a really big need for it. I think the market that you serve generally tends to not be very effective at running and marketing themselves. So I'd love you to tell the audience a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started originally in sales and as a health professional. So I was selling fitness DVDs, but then I also got all my certifications in various different health programs and coaching programs. And a lot of people, that's the first part of everyone's journey if they want to be a coach or a consultant, is the certification phase. And so I was one of those people who did a ton of them and should have jumped right into just getting a few core ones and actually investing in my business and marketing and building my brand. But anyways, needless to say, I spent a lot of time on that. Behavioral change, got a behavioral change background and blah, blah, blah. So then I was coaching and got my first stab at having my own business and side hustle, and ended up going to school for entrepreneurship because I didn't know. I knew I wanted to have my own business. I wasn't sure how I wanted that to look yet. And I knew I loved health. I knew I loved sales. I just didn't know how it was all going to come together yet. So went to school, and after that, I started working at wellness startups in business development and marketing. And that's when I really found what I love, which is marketing and sales for wellness professionals primarily. And I realized the certification programs never taught me how to run a business, how to do anything when it comes to lead gen or, social media, all the current things, right? And so that was frustrating because, I think so many people think that's going to be my golden ticket, and then I'm just going to be this health coach and people are going to come to me online all of a sudden. And that's a big joke, right? So I ended up working in the startup world and wearing many hats and loving that. One of the startups I worked for, kind of a dream job situation, kind of put my coaching on the back burner because I did love it, but I just didn't have time. As you know, having a startup and being a part of a launch team is pretty intense. So kind of let my coaching go. And then what happened was that company let everybody go because they were facing a ton of delays, moved a little too quickly, and entire team got let go on one call on Zoom. And that I had just been told I was going to get a promotion. I had moved across the country for this job. So that was a little scary. And that's when I realized, well, why not take marketing and sales and teach it to the people who need it, right? So that's when I shifted to helping service providers, primarily wellness professionals, so dietitians, health coaches, some life coaches as well. So a little bit of everything, but a lot of wellness background. So that's kind of what I've been doing the past 2.5 to 3 years-ish. And teaching, I really just love teaching wellness professionals and life coaches how to start getting clients online consistently and build systems around that, get rocking with their sales and get over their fears with that, and build a brand around a community, really become a leader in their field by building their community. So that's what I've been up to, and hope that gives a little background.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, it's funny, I know a lot of health practitioners, particularly that, they went through the schooling and then they, were like, oh, great, I'm going to open a practice. And then they get there and they're like, I don't know the first thing about marketing, about social, about content, about lead generation, about how any of the ad platforms work. And it's kind of strange that, that's specific of a type of schooling, that's specific of a type of designation, that's not included in a modern package of school? Like, how do you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's fine if you're going to go work for a place, but it feels like that education should be incorporated into a lot of what people are getting in their basic school, but it really hasn't, I haven't seen any shift in that at all.
Yeah, I've seen some of the programs have little bits and pieces about, you know, pick a target audience and whatever, but it's not, I would say most of the programs are outdated in that arena, and they don't ever know what the market really wants, meaning they'll say something like, yeah, you know, it has to be a 6-month package or else, and it doesn't, right? Like you could have different offers, you could have a membership. So just, and I also think a lot of people don't identify as a business owner when they're a coach or consultant. They just love what they do. They love their craft, but they never feel like they can step into that identity of like, yeah, I'm also a business owner. And they have to be if they want to keep their job coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did you, so I mean, building a program to get people to the next level, I mean, that's an awesome, you know, skill set and thing. How would you say that you came about that skill set? Was it a combination of just your experience in startup land amongst other things, or how did you kind of come up with it all?
Well, I will say that I've always been, I mean, this has been 10 years of just absorbing everything I possibly can when it comes to sales, marketing, using mentors, going through coaching programs myself, investing in myself. But also at the same time, I've kind of, one day in the sauna of all places, I had a really good idea because I knew my pillars, meaning I knew I taught sales, marketing, you know, how to deliver your product and get solid reviews and all that. But I had no way of explaining it in a clear way for people who didn't know the marketing lingo and all that. So I came up with a framework that I call Grow Your Business the Fast Way, using the Fast Way system. So it's FAST. And each thing stands for a big part of your business that you need to get addressed. So, and it was all the stuff that I'd been working on to grow my business to where it is. So the first thing is followers. And what I mean by that is consistent leads coming in, filling up your pipeline with qualified potential clients, if you're a high ticket coach, getting discovery calls every week from those leads. And then the A stands for action. So making sure that with your content and with your email funnel or whatever you're using to nurture people, it's compelling enough for them to take action and contact you and connect with you, right? And then the S stands for sales. So that's actually closing the deal. How do you lead discovery calls? How do you overcome your sales fears? And how do you have a sales process for your different offers? And then T stands for time and transformation. So what I mean by that is, number one, with time, as a business owner, we have to be really careful about where we're spending your time. And if it doesn't fit this framework, it's probably not a good use of your time. So we talk about time management and outsourcing and all that. And then transformation is the personal transformation you have to go on as a business owner, meaning you got to get over your fears of sales and marketing and promoting yourself, but also the transformation your clients go through, which means, you know, what's your unique system for them, making sure you have that down, making sure you stand out, making sure you're clear on your niche and you've done the research. So that's kind of in a short framework, what I teach and what I had to learn to be able to grow my business. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And I think, from what I've seen, and I've done kind of a little bit of everything in my 7 years of running campaigns and strategizing campaigns and the consulting stuff. So I think, one thing that I've seen from just working on so many campaigns, whether it be from the strategy side or running them or consulting along the way, is that there is a framework for just about anything. And everything is super repeatable, but it's like, then you put your spin with your language, with your unique selling proposition. But really fundamentally, I think frameworks are a really interesting way to think about productizing, because it is so true that it is required and it is very repeatable, especially if you're delivering content and services into a particular niche. I feel like it's so repeatable if you've got a framework. So that's really interesting to hear.
I agree. There's nothing more refreshing than a framework. Structure, like that. Those are words I love that. Yes.
Awesome. So let's switch gears a little bit. I know I'm always curious, with people, especially now, I think there's going to be a big surge of people that, used to have an office or used to do mostly in person. And right now, the fear and the unknown of like, when are we going back to in person? I do have to shift online. I'm curious about how you find your customers. Like, what's the most efficient way that you found for your business, and even from helping your clients find business?
Absolutely. So in addition to coaching, I do offer lead gen services for some of my clients if they want that. And the top 3 things that have worked for me personally are the following. Number 1, well, aside from referrals, because that is just great because the people they refer are already warm and it's just a great process. But aside from that, I would say SEO. So I'm on the first page of Google, for example, for business coach for health coaches. Number 2 would be Instagram, because I have qualified people I know exactly who I'm targeting. I know what hashtags they use. I know what accounts that they follow. And so one thing I always do, and I highly recommend, it's like people miss the mark on something so easy. Sending a welcome direct message to somebody who's a new follower is like so easy, and we don't do it, right? Because it takes a little time. Sure, you got to like put their name in and say something, right? But direct messaging is great, and sometimes, a lot of times, that leads to calls. And then the third thing for me has been my Facebook group. So that takes time to grow, obviously, but because the buzzwords I use in the title of that Facebook group are keywords that my ideal client would search on Facebook, I get in the organic search for that a lot. I'm in the suggested groups category, and it's a really nice community. So people, when they join there, they immediately get warmed up with good content and support and community vibes. So those are the top 3 for me. Now, all of these things, the main thing I want to direct them to is a discovery call. And I'd say the 4th one, if I had to pick 4, pretty much even with Instagram, would be LinkedIn. Surprisingly, I've started that only within the last year. I haven't been doing it a super long time, but it took me about 2-ish months to kind of get everything ramped up and organized and out there. But now, as I'm going into like month 5 or 6, it's been really picking up, and I've been getting regular calls from that as well.
Awesome. And how do you use LinkedIn? Because it's funny. I got it was just like on topic for this today. I got a DM from this guy Pedro or something, and it was like it was super uncurated, and it was like the sales pitch was in the sales pitch was in the invitation. And I wrote back and I was like, hey, so open to connecting, not open to sales pitches on the first point of contact. So sort that out, or maybe just disconnect from me. And then the next thing was like a super stock message. I really think you should jump on a call with me. And I was like,
no.
Pedro, no.
Pedro. Yeah, I mean, Instagram. It's tough because it's like, of course, everybody wants to outsource things, and they have their own, agencies and all that. They have their own way of going about it. But it's like you don't want to invite somebody to marry you on the first date. So that's really odd that you would get an intro request with that. So what I do is I have a message sequence that's very nurturing. So it's like, first thing is like, hey, like I'd love to hear a question to just get to know them better. And I do share now, people have strict views on this, and so I might not fit everybody's cup of tea, but I'm very direct. I'm very direct in everything I do. If you watch a Facebook Live or podcast, like I don't just like not be direct. So I in the first message, I do invite them to my Facebook community. So I say, and I used to invite them to my LinkedIn group because I have that too. But I just find the party's not hopping there. They're probably not my ideal client if they're not even on Facebook either. And I'm going to break the rules of, you have to send them to your LinkedIn group because it's the same platform. I don't like that. It wasn't working. So I send them to my Facebook group and just say, I'd love to invite you to this free community where I share free sales, marketing, mindset tips. Thanks so much. And then as time goes on, we check in with them, maybe send them a podcast. Eventually you might get some people that are like, please don't talk to me, but it's very rare because it's very nurturing and spread out and pretty organic. And it's asking them questions to engage with them. And then I go in and I actually answer them from me rather than some canned response.
Right.
So that's, I think, the best way to do it. It does save you time to have canned messages ready. But that's kind of what I do.
One thing I've been experimenting, and I'm actually going to start doing, I've got 900 lined up for next week. So it's going to be a really interesting week for me. I am connecting with people by, so I'm doing it with like targeted automation to like, these are the people, and I put them in a flow of like, I'm going to invite them, but I'm actually going to send a personalized video to every connection on LinkedIn now. I'm going to try it. I'm going to do 1,000 and just see just see what the impact difference of it is. I don't know. I'm sure it'll work.
Brilliant.
But it's going to be
awesome.
I
think voice notes and video go a long way. I do voice notes a lot on Instagram, and I get a better response rate with that. So let me know. I'd be curious to hear how it goes for you.
Yeah, I will. I'll absolutely let you know. So, one of the things that you brought up kind of at the end of like the marketing stuff, and we talked a little bit about it before we jumped on the podcast. And I think, most people, I've sat in on discovery calls because I actually used to work for a marketing agency. I had a team of 25. That was actually a side hustle job for me, but I had a team of 25 and I had to listen to their calls. I had to go to their sales meetings, all that stuff. And people are just awful at it. And I think maybe like mindset is a challenge, but I'd love for you to share your experience or any tips that you have in that space.
Yeah. Well, I really feel like sales is in discovery calls is an art. It's an art and a craft, honestly. And it's not to say like you're I think everybody sees sales, or a lot of people see sales as convincing, manipulating, being slimy, whatever. But I really see sales as, first of all, you are, as Dan Sullivan says, you are having somebody emotionally and intellectually engaged in something that's better for them, or that's good for them based on their goals or based on what they're struggling with. You have a solution for them. That's the bottom line, right? So number one, if you're fearing sales, you either need to look at your solution and is it not a solution for them? Because then you should feel bad selling it, right? And so you might need to go improve your actual product or program or do a test group or something to feel confident about the solution you're offering. But number two, the other thing is making sure you structure the call so you're able to get to a point where you understand what somebody's struggling with and you're able to see how you can help. So I think a lot of people see it as being salesy if you dive into questions like, well, what do you need to think about? Or like, what is, when it comes to the finances, like what does that look like for you? What could you do if the desire was there? What could we do to make this something you could do, right? So a lot of people would be like, oh no, I would hang up the phone at that point once I hear any objection whatsoever, or, that they don't have time or whatever. So I think it's more about being curious and seeing how you can help. And it's actually your job. Like, zero value is given if you guys just have a call and they don't get any solutions to their problem and they're left to go Google more things and like try to figure it out by themselves. That was a waste of an hour or however long the call was, which you're not going to win every sale, but it's definitely when you go in with the mindset of, I want to see if this is even a fit, support this person, understand their goals, what's stopping them, how long they've been struggling with this, and how driven are they to solve it, and then go into your packages and programs if they ask about it. Like, I like to position it where I'm not, I do ask, like, where do you want to go from here? Or what else do you want to know? Or that kind of thing. And then naturally we can talk about programs and that kind of thing. So I don't know what the question was, but I think my advice is you got to start to shift your mindset around sales first. And then in my program, I have like discovery call templates and how to overcome every objection, but to make it your own and examples of real calls and that kind of thing. So you can get the actual skill set too, because I think both are important, but the mindset comes first.
Yeah, and I think a couple of takeaways that I had from it were, making sure that person feels understood in every which way, because if you don't understand them, it's very hard for you to know if you're the right solution for them.
Yeah.
You don't know if them paying you is going to be the solution. At a surface level, I'm looking to learn more, or get more of this, or get more clients in this. Like, you might just be like, oh, I can do that. But I think if you really thought about who your ideal person is, who the people that you've helped the most, understanding all of the facets from them, how long they've been struggling is one thing. Maybe there's somebody that's on the precipice of the answer and you're like, oh, just go watch this YouTube video, you're good. And you can avoid them being a client, which isn't conventional wisdom. But I think those people where you say you don't need this, you just need XYZ, and you not being the answer is actually a really good sales mechanism, because they will probably send business your way, or they'll become a big advocate of your content online, and that can create other opportunities as well. So I think the big takeaways I got are kind of, listen, understand what they want. And then if you feel nervous about objections, make sure it's not your product being insufficient, and make sure if you feel like your product, I heard someone say once, if you truly believe in your heart that your product will help, you are doing a disservice not getting them to come on board.
Absolutely. My favorite visualization for that is if somebody is bleeding in front of you and you have a Band-Aid in your pocket, would you be like, oh my God, I can't bring up the Band-Aid. I can't mention it. It's really awkward, right? No, they're bleeding. They probably need a Band-Aid. Doesn't hurt to explore that. Right.
Yeah. And I think the key is like, because I think a lot of people cynically will take that as though you nick your knee versus, or you have a hole in your leg. Make sure that the wound is appropriate for you to bandage.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So what's next for you? Are you working on just kind of growing the client base? Are you working on, obviously the Facebook group seems to be something that's taken off for you?
Oh yeah, I'm continuing everything I'm already doing. So just doubling down on what's working. I'm also working on more systems and, standard operating procedures for my business. I just finished a program called Traffic Clients and Closes that I made for my clients who want the faster track. My Zero to Hero Coach program goes through like all the foundations of your business and podcast pitch. Like, it's very, very detailed. Traffic Clients and Closes is very, very detailed, but only on 3 core things: client generating activities, sales, and big traffic, building eyeballs on your stuff. So I'm very happy because I just about finished that up. So now I am moving into the marketing and the systems I need in place to start to hopefully be able to have another person who I can have hired. I have one teammate right now, but they are not full-time or anything. So where I'm going, I don't know if this is helpful for your audience, I'm just kind of doing a brain bar, but where I'm moving is systems, standard operating procedures. I'm trying to make sure I don't have to do every single part of my business, because I want to be focused mainly on my private clients, which I currently am, but there's always more I can be fixing and cleaning up. And I think that's a big key message for anybody listening today is your business is always going to have little holes. It's never going to be 100% A+ in every single area. And you just have to learn where to focus and which area you're trying to improve at each time.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Well, look, those are some great insights. And so if people that are listening are interested in the service that you offer, or even they're interested in just kind of keeping track of what you're working on, where would they best find you?
Yeah. So you guys can check out either the Health Coach Nation podcast or the Health Coach Nation Facebook community. That's at facebook.com/group/Health Coach Nation. I'm sure Mike will give you the links for these things.
I'll link it up. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I'm at HaileyRowe.com. That's Hailey Rowe, HaileyRowe. And on that website, you'll see a spot where you can book a free marketing consult. So if you're ever interested in getting some feedback on your current business, we can do that. And other than that, I'm on Instagram at Hailey_Rowe. I'm everywhere, just on LinkedIn. You just, it's all good. Connect wherever
Awesome.
you are.
Awesome. Well, look, I really appreciate the time today. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.